I try to be objective with all of my sports coverage, and listen, Jacy Sheldon objectively should be suspended for this play. I just don't know in what world, in what universe you watch that play back and you go, that was a basketball play. She was trying to make a basketball move, especially with all the angles of this.
The uproar is absolutely deafening, and the frustration is reaching a boiling point across the entire WNBA landscape. Fans have had enough. They've watched the physical play, the questionable fouls, the constant targeting, and now they've hit their breaking point. The latest spark, a brutal, dangerous, and outright reckless foul by Jacy Sheldon, a play that didn't just cross the line. It bulldozed right over it. And the target of this aggressive hit, none other than Caitlin Clark, the most valuable player in women's basketball right now, the league's biggest star, and arguably the WNBA's greatest ticket seller and TV draw. What unfolded on that court didn't look like a tough defensive stop. It didn't look like a hard, competitive play. It looked like a direct, intentional attack, and fans saw it for exactly what it was. In fact, it has now sparked an overwhelming tidal wave of anger from all corners of the basketball community. This isn't just a momentary controversy. This is a growing movement from fans who are tired of seeing the league's brightest star repeatedly targeted without meaningful consequences. People are demanding real accountability. They're no longer satisfied with weak flagrant calls or routine technical fouls that feel more like slaps on the wrist. What fans are calling for now is the one thing that actually sends a message: financial punishment that stings. They're asking the league to step up, take this seriously, and hand down suspensions that have real consequences, both in terms of playing time and paychecks. This isn't about favoritism. This is about protecting the league's top talent and maintaining the integrity of the game. When you have a player like Caitlin Clark, who is pulling record-breaking crowds, shattering viewership numbers, and introducing an entirely new generation of fans to the WNBA, the league has to protect her, not just because she's a star, but because letting this kind of reckless behavior go unchecked sets a dangerous precedent, one where physical targeting is tolerated. If you're willing to pay the small price of a common foul, if you agree that this can't continue, that the league needs to finally make an example of this kind of dangerous play, then make your voice heard. Comment suspend Sheldon down below and join the growing chorus of fans who are demanding real action. It's time for the league to prove that protecting its players, especially the ones who are building the future, actually matters. Let's go.
Sheldon was clearly targeting Caitlin Clark most of this game, and that is, that comes from a function of, she guarded her in one-on-one situations a lot up the court, and then rolled into a lot of doubles in the half court, but there was talking and chirping all game, and for me, it was punctuated by Caitlin Clark's final play before she came out of the game, where she stares Jacy Sheldon down, essentially demonstrates, she's like, if you poke me in my eye, I will shoot it in yours. And she crosses her, finds the favorite spot, free throw line extended from the logo area, big U3 to Jacy Sheldon, yells at the Connecticut bench, yells at the crowd.
From Twitter to TikTok, the outrage isn't just simmering, it's spreading like wildfire. Social media timelines are being flooded with clips, commentary, and posts demanding real accountability after the brutal foul on Caitlin Clark. This isn't just a small pocket of frustration anymore. This has completely overtaken sports conversations across platforms. Hashtags like #ban Jacy Sheldon and #protect Caitlin Clark are trending in real time. And the message from fans is impossible to miss: they've had enough. People aren't asking for a simple technical foul. They're not looking for a meaningless fine or a token warning. Fans are demanding a suspension, not just any suspension, but a serious, career-impacting, wallet-draining punishment that will send an unmistakable message throughout the entire league. If you target a star like Caitlin Clark with reckless, dangerous plays, there will be real consequences. This isn't just about revenge. It's about protecting the integrity of the game and the safety of its players. Sports forums, comment sections, fan pages, and influencers are all echoing the same call: accountability with teeth. The days of brushing off these moments as just part of the game are over. Fans want the league to draw a hard line. They want a punishment that forces players and coaches to think twice before allowing or encouraging this kind of behavior. What's becoming painfully clear to fans is that referees on the court have not been doing enough to protect Caitlin Clark. The hard fouls, the aggressive shoves, the constant physical targeting. They've seen it game after game with minimal intervention from officials. So now the conversation has shifted beyond the floor. Fans are calling on the league office itself to step in and enforce justice from the top down. If the referees won't protect the face of the league, then it's time for the league's leadership to step up and make a statement, one that's loud, clear, and impossible to ignore. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. This is about the future of the WNBA. About player safety, about the league's responsibility to its stars, and about whether or not they're willing to back their biggest attractions with real protection. If you stand with Caitlin Clark and agree that the league must act now to protect her and send a warning shot across the entire WNBA, drop a comment saying suspend Sheldon and let your voice be part of the movement. This is bigger than one foul. This is about the message the league sends from here on out. Let's go.
Every time Caitlin Clark takes the court, her opponents act like they've been booked for a main event brawl. The WNBA is doing nothing about it. Opponents aren't playing ball. They're strategically ambushing her. They're trying to injure her. Opponents bring chaos. She brings composure. And what Sophie did last night is completely valid. The WNBA has to do something about this.
The moment that reignited this firestorm didn't come during a playoff battle or a heated rivalry. It happened during what was supposed to be a routine regular season matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. On paper, it was just another game on the WNBA schedule. But what unfolded on that court became anything but routine. It transformed into yet another alarming chapter in the growing saga of Caitlin Clark being systematically targeted. This wasn't an isolated incident. This wasn't just a hard foul or a moment of over-aggression in the heat of competition. This was part of a disturbing pattern that fans have seen play out over and over again. Caitlin Clark getting hit, shoved, and body-checked in ways that go far beyond the physicality of normal play. But this time, it wasn't just the die-hard fans or the Fever faithful who noticed. The incident was so overt, so blatantly dirty, that even the most casual, neutral viewers, people who may have just been flipping through channels or casually scrolling through game highlights, couldn't ignore what they saw. The foul wasn't subtle. It wasn't hidden in the chaos of a fast break or disguised as incidental contact. It was in your face, impossible to miss. And it immediately sent shockwaves through the WNBA fan base. Social media lit up within minutes. Videos of the play spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views as fans, analysts, and even former players voiced their outrage over what they were seeing. Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest star and brightest attraction, getting targeted in a way that felt personal, dangerous, and far beyond acceptable competitive standards. What's most frustrating to so many fans is that this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Game after game, Clark seems to be the magnet for aggressive, borderline cheap shots, and it's starting to feel less like coincidence and more like strategy. The message being sent to the rest of the league is deeply concerning. If you can't stop Caitlin Clark's brilliance with skill, then you can try to slow her down with physical punishment. And that's exactly why this moment has exploded into something much bigger than just one foul or one game. Fans are no longer content to sit back and watch this play out. They're demanding action, not just from referees in the heat of the moment, but from the highest levels of WNBA leadership. This was the tipping point. The play was so obviously dirty that ignoring it would send the wrong message to every player and every fan. That targeting the league's top talent is somehow part of the game. But the fans aren't letting that message stand. They're pushing back louder than ever, calling for accountability, calling for suspensions, and calling for the WNBA to step in and protect its most valuable players. This wasn't just a foul, this was a warning shot. And now the entire league is watching to see what happens next.
And Jacy Sheldon. There is a legitimate hatred there. If you guys have heard, this Ohio State team, this 2023 Ohio State team, hated that Iowa team. And this is Jacy Sheldon, who was Caitlin Clark's direct matchup in these games. Like I tweeted out, forget Angel, forget Dejanay. This is Caitlin Clark's one true rival.
Jacy Sheldon didn't just make a routine defensive play, she lunged with clear intent, driving her fingers directly into Caitlin Clark's eye with a level of precision and aggression that felt almost surgical in its malice. This wasn't some accidental swipe or a clumsy, chaotic scramble for the ball. It was calculated, deliberate, and chillingly personal. What made the moment even worse, what sent a wave of shock and disgust through fans everywhere, was the expression that followed. Sheldon didn't walk away apologetically or show any hint of regret. Instead, she grinned, a cold, unsettling smirk, like she had just walked away with a carnival prize. As if injuring Clark had somehow been the objective all along. That smirk didn't just land on the court, it landed in the hearts of millions of fans watching. And it hit hard. It became the defining image of the moment. one that symbolized far more than a foul. It symbolized a blatant disregard for sportsmanship, for player safety, and for the fact that the woman on the receiving end of that jab, Caitlin Clark, isn't just any player, she's the one carrying the weight of the WNBA's growth. On her back right now, she's the reason arenas are sold out. She's the reason ratings are shattering records. She's the reason casual sports fans are finally tuning into women's basketball with real investment. This wasn't a case of defensive hustle gone wrong. This wasn't just part of the game. This was targeted, this was deliberate, and it was aimed at the single most important player in the league at this moment in time. Whether it was meant to rattle her, sideline her, or send a message, the intent was undeniable, and it crossed a line that fans, players, and analysts alike are now demanding the league address. When the cameras caught that smirk, when the replay showed the brutal precision of the foul, the conversation instantly changed. This wasn't about physical play anymore. This became about whether or not the league is willing to protect its stars, whether or not they'll allow this type of targeting to continue unchecked, whether they'll prioritize the long-term health of the game's most valuable asset or sit back and let reckless, dangerous plays chip away at the very player driving their success. Fans saw it. They felt it, and now they're making it clear. This can't be swept under the rug. The league has a decision to make, and all eyes are watching.
Funny thing about that whole Caitlyn and Jacy situation last night is it's like on a if you know thing. These two have been running a friendly fade on the court for like the last 4 years. They played in college, had great battles, so I'm not surprised last night happened.
And it didn't stop there as Caitlin Clark stumbled and reeled from the brutal eye poke. Still trying to regain her balance and composure, Jacy Sheldon doubled down. She grabbed Clark's arm and dug her nails in with a cheap, calculated move that had absolutely zero basketball value. There was no attempt to go for the ball. No defensive purpose, just pure, deliberate aggression. It was a foul without strategy, a personal attack disguised as a defensive play, meant only to inflict discomfort and send a message. But just when it seemed like things couldn't possibly get any uglier, Marina Mabrey entered the scene from behind, as if waiting for the perfect moment to escalate the situation. Mabrey used Clark's disoriented state as an opening, blindsiding her with a vicious shove that sent her crashing hard to the hardwood. It wasn't a contested rebound, it wasn't a box out, it was a blatant, predatory hit on a player who was already defenseless. And where were the referees in all of this? Standing there, watching, doing nothing. They weren't scrambling to control the situation, they weren't blowing their whistles in real time, and they certainly weren't stepping in to protect the league's biggest star. It was as if they were blinking, half watching, sipping invisible tea, pretending the whole thing wasn't unfolding right in front of their faces. The silence from the officials wasn't just shocking, it was infuriating. It sent a message that these kinds of dangerous, targeted attacks might not only go unpunished but might actually be quietly tolerated. And now, fans across the league are demanding to know, how much more does Caitlin Clark have to endure before someone in charge decides enough is enough?